I never could bear the idea of anyone's expecting something from me. It always made me want to do just the opposite. Sartre talks about how hell can be other people. He means that sometimes being around others can feel like hell because they influence us to act in ways that aren't true to ourselves. When people make choices, it can make us feel pressured to copy them or to act in ways we don't really believe in. If we do things just because others do them, Sartre says we're being untrue to ourselves. He thinks it would be better if we were all alone, at least in some situations. For Sartre, it's not just about wearing clothes because everyone does, but it's about how we choose to wear them. If we pick a style just because we saw someone else wearing it, Sartre says we're not being authentic. We should make choices that come from within us, not just because of what others do. In Jean-Paul Sartre's play, No Exit, 3 people are stuck in a room together and they're told it's hell. They have to stay with each other forever and drive each other crazy. There's no torturer or demons. Just them. Garcon, Inez and Estelle are the unlucky trio. Garcon ran away from the army, mistreated his wife, and had affairs. Inez had an affair that ended tragically, and Estelle did something awful to a child. When they first meet, they all pretend to be good, but deep down they're hiding their mistakes. Garcon and Estelle try hard to seem perfect, but it just makes them feel worse inside. Inez is honest about her wrongs and doesn't pretend to be something she's not. They have to rely on each other to know how they look because there are no mirrors in hell. They're always being judged by each other, and it drives them mad. Garcon was a journalist who left the war because he believed in pacifism, which means he didn't want to fight. But deep down, he's worried that he might have actually run away because he was scared, not because of his beliefs. He really wants someone to tell him that he's not a coward. At first, he thinks Estelle could reassure him, but he soon realizes that her opinion doesn't mean much, because she'll say anything to get a man's attention. Then he turns to Inez, but she's not interested in men and is actually quite mean-spirited. She refuses to give Garcon the reassurance he needs. He feels trapped and tormented by the other 2 people in the room. So basically, Garcon wants people to like him for who he is, while Estelle only cares about people liking how she looks. She is shallow, focusing on unimportant things like appearance and not personality. Estelle is very self-centered, only thinking about herself and her physical beauty. She wants people to praise her looks and tries to get Garcon's attention by mentioning her hair and how a man killed himself because of her. Estelle is superficial because she is deeply hurt by the fact that she killed her baby and feels empty inside. She is just as insecure as Garcon, seeking approval for her looks instead of her actions. Inez feels insecure but has given up trying to impress others. She knows she belongs in hell and doesn't try to deny it. She constantly thinks about herself and believes she is incapable of love. Instead of seeking love, she seeks power and enjoys controlling others. She tends to be aggressive and enjoys causing others pain to distract herself from her own suffering. She believes making others suffer keeps her from feeling alone. Inez's attitude shows how people in hell are treated poorly. She feels degraded when others treat her like an object. Estelle is also selfish, only caring about her own satisfaction. There is no respect for each person's uniqueness and beauty in hell. Garcon believes that knowing someone too well destroys the possibility of love. Hell is a place where people's dignity is ignored. In one scene, Inez offers to be Estelle's mirror, but things go wrong. Estelle can't check if Inez is lying because there are no mirrors. Garcon begs for approval from Estelle and Inez, but it's torture because they judge him. Because they don't treat each other like human beings, they manipulate each other to get what they want. Even though they sometimes show kindness, it's always with an ulterior motive. In the end, Garcon sums up their situation by saying, hell is other people for them. Hell isn't about fire and demons, it's about being stuck with each other and the torment they cause one another. They can't escape the torture because they rely on each other for it. Sometimes we feel bad because we care too much about what others think. If they let go a little, maybe they wouldn't be so unhappy. Sartre's concept challenges us to consider how much our choices are truly our own, especially in matters like personal style. He argues that authenticity requires us to make choices independently, without being swayed by the decisions of others. Hell isn't just other people, it's also how they see themselves. And that's a lesson about how tricky life can be when you're with other people. For comparison, Sartre says that God wouldn't be influenced by other people's choices. So when we're influenced by others, it's like living in hell, because we're not being true to ourselves. In one of his books, Being and Nothingness, Sartre gives a gloomy view of how people relate to each other. He argues that relationships involve a constant struggle over freedom, which he thinks is the most important thing. This struggle happens because we either treat others like objects, which takes away their freedom, or we let them treat us like objects, which takes away our freedom. So, whenever we meet someone else, there's a fight for who gets to be in charge. And usually the one who wins is the one who loves less. However, some people misinterpret this statement. Sartre explains that it doesn't mean all relationships are terrible. Instead, it's about how relationships can feel like hell if they're messed up. If we become too reliant on other people's opinions of us, we might feel trapped by their judgments. But it's not that we can't have good relationships, it's just that we need to be careful not to let other people control us too much. If my relations are bad, I am situating myself in a total dependence on someone else, and then I am indeed in hell. And there are a vast number of people in the world who are in hell because they are too dependent on the judgment of other people. But that does not at all mean that one cannot have relations with other people. It simply brings out the capital importance of all other people for each one of us. Sartre also talks about bad faith, which means lying to ourselves about our freedom and responsibility. He says that if we're not honest with ourselves, our relationships won't work. But if we're true to who we are, our relationships have a chance to succeed. So even though Sartre's ideas about relationships seem pessimistic, he believes that with a big change in how we see ourselves, we can have better connections with others. In a 1971 interview, when asked about his statement that hell is other people, he responds, "But that's only that side of the coin. The other side, which no one seems to mention, is also heaven is each other. Hell is separateness, uncommunicability, self-centeredness, lust for power, for riches, for fame. Heaven, on the other hand, is very simple and very hard. It's about caring about your fellow beings. You might think that is better to just isolate yourself, but we are all influenced by the presence and opinions of others, even when we are alone. Our relationships with others can impact our health and well-being. Having positive social connections can improve our health, while negative relationships can make us sick. Social networks can also influence our habits, like smoking or exercise. Joining a running club can provide motivation and support for fitness goals. In a world focused on social media, simply spending time with friends in person can be a refreshing break from the pressure of online interactions. In conclusion, while other people can contribute to our suffering, it is ultimately our own egos that can serve as a source of torment. By recognizing this and striving to overcome our attachments to certain aspects of our identity, we can find a greater sense of inner peace.